let's get started. Welcome, everybody. We are getting close to the end of the year, man. Thanksgiving weekend, October 9th today, Sam?
Yes, sir.
October 9th?
8th, sorry.
8th.
Yeah.
We got the long weekend. Everybody's off Monday. So wanted to kind of have a quick meeting with you guys, talk to you about sort of the year, and I've been at some meetings with Hyundai and Genesis, and we have the Kia one coming up. I was just at Nissan, so have lots of outlook with the economists and what they're saying for our business and stuff like that. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you, and then go right into talking about some of the things that we probably really need to drill down on in the next couple months to continue on our success rate, right? So, I mean, overall, we've had a great year in spite of the inventory being down in new cars. Obviously, Kia probably feeling a little bit more than Hyundai and Nissan, and on that, I think we did a good job of pivoting with used cars, and obviously our margins, both new and used, went up in spite of the volume being low. And so what Hyundai and Nissan and Genesis talked to us about is production levels are going up. So like for Hyundai, for instance, they let us know that this next quarter they're going to be up 30% production. So that's pretty big. 30% going into this production is really big. And then they feel we'll probably be about 70-80% by mid next year of what they were in 2019. So that's pretty good, guys. So, you know, we're probably not going to be at the same levels of stocking, 3 and 4 month supply like we were in 2018 and 2019. I think that whole business model is going to change. We're probably going to have, 60, 70 new on the ground, and we're going to sell 55 of them. And then we're going to just be really better at ordering. And I think even the sold order process is going to be still around for a while, right? So, but that was a positive outlook for me. I felt better about it. I was thinking, like, are we still 2 years away and, from the same level that we're at? So we think that Kia is going to be similar. So, Jordan and I are going to the meeting next month, and we feel that they're probably going to be the same. So that would be good, right? So you threw me off, man. Who's ever you're on your phone, like. All right, thank you. Anyway, so that was a real positive outlook. So they talked about that. We have lots of brand new vehicles coming, guys. So there's some really good vehicles coming. Obviously, all the manufacturers are going into the electric model. Canada has said they want zero emissions by 2035. I don't know if that's attainable or not, but that's their goal. So that would mean that all the manufacturers have to start thinking about that and producing and doing all those type of things. So I would see that we're going to continue. So Hyundai and Kia, obviously, and Genesis are leaders in that. So for new cars, it's going to be we have a really good manufacturers that support that. So I think that's going to be really keep growing. So, and Michael, that's the same with Genesis. Their productions we're going to start seeing more inventory. So that was good news. Now the second thing they talked about was just based on what COVID has done, and we all know that it's changed people's behaviors. It's changed people's the way they look at things. Time becomes more of a commodity now. Everybody's kind of demanding a different type of experience, and it made people really think about how they do things and how they purchase things, and they're doing more stuff online, but they're also, they're kind of expecting a way better experience than they used to, especially with car buying. So, we have to transition there and make sure that we're doing all the little things. And a couple things that I wrote down here are, there's two things people own. One is a home, one is a job. And everything else they service. So when you go to the gym, that's a service. When you buy food, that's a service. All the other things are service commodities. But they own their home and they own their job. But everything else is all about being a service and being an experience. So what the best guys do, and you take Apple or you take Starbucks, you take some of these most successful companies, they really drill down on how to make their service more of an experience. Like Kevin, you were just in Disneyland, right? Did you have to wait in line?
Yeah.
Okay. So you take a look at Disneyland, for instance. They've mastered this experience where people pay this huge amount of money to come in, get on a ride. While they're waiting 2 hours, there's some type of interactive thing, and they're happy. And think about their hiring practice. All these real happy people, smiling all the time, happy to help, and people are coming in to go on a ride, but they're waiting in line, and they want this experience. Right? There's other amusement parks. Have you guys been to Wonderland in Toronto? Think about the difference between Wonderland and Disney. Do you think people want to wait 2 hours in line at Wonderland? Probably not. It's a completely different experience. I was at Starbucks this morning, and this really triggers those of you that like Starbucks. It's all coffee. There's 1,000 different coffee spots. But what did Starbucks figure out? They figured out this sort of different experience, this sort of different sort of culture that they were going to try and serve people. They make you wait in line on purpose, in case you didn't figure it out, because that's part of the experience. You can have 10 different ways of ordering it, maybe 100 different combinations. You want oat milk, you want almond milk, you want 2 pumps of this, you want a butterscotch in there, you want this, you want whipped cream, you want this. Then you wait in line, then they put a little star or something on your thing, and then when you leave there, it's kind of like, I got the cup right here. I wanted to use it as a prop. Well, hey, I'm walking to work. I got a Starbucks. That was kind of my experience, right? Here it is. I went through that whole experience this morning to start my day. And then the person in the drive-thru even starts talking to you about stuff. Probably you don't even want to talk to her, but they're trained that they got to ask you questions. How's your day? Where are you off to? You going to work? What are you planning on doing for Thanksgiving? And that's part of their hiring process. So then, so when we think about this, we think about these big companies that are doing these experiences, then we have to kind of pivot and drill down on what are we doing? Because they can go anywhere and buy a car, So what's our experiences? How do we respond to them when they're looking at one of our used cars online? How do we respond to them on our emails? How's our greeting? What kind of wow factor do we have that we give them? Now the good thing is we all hire in new facilities. All Kia, BuyDirect, and Kelowna Hyundai all have re-imaged facilities. So we have that to start off with. Now it's about you guys and the experience of when they get there. We have to really drill down and get away from old school mentality where, slam bam, it's, time is the commodity. So if we are going to make them wait for something, what are they doing while they're waiting? How do we greet them? How do we treat them? And what all came out in a lot of these meetings is people will pay more for it. This was $6.35. The same coffee is $2.75 at Tim Hortons. But why did I want one that was $6?
Because you like the experience.
And they trained me to want it. They trained me in my head to think that I'm a Starbucks guy. Right? So we have to figure out the wow factor when they come into your stores. And you personally have to figure that out. So it's not just me as the CEO of the company saying, hey man, we got to start wowing customers. It's like you guys got to drill down and say, hey, am I giving the wow experience? Am I updating the customers properly? Am I calling them back in a professional manner? How's my messaging? Do I have automated messaging? Or do I have personalized messaging? I'll give you an example. Some of you that are going to be at the grand opening, and I gave Sam and Connor a hard time about it because I asked every salesman to come up with 10 or 12 VIPs. Well, I know some of you just sent an email to all 12 of them. Weak. How about you call your customer and say, hey, Chad, I want to personally invite you to the VIP grand opening because you were a good customer. Which one's going to get you the real result that you're looking for? Which one's going to give the experience? Anybody can do a flash email and say, hey, we're having a grand opening. Here's the link on it. and send it to all 12 people at the same time. That's not what, that's not personalized messaging. That's not the Starbucks sort of way. So sometimes I really want to challenge you guys on that. And I think, with the managers and that, we really need, it starts with you guys to making sure that your guys are doing it. So, managers meeting every customer and us really being happy when they come in. I mean, our goal, as I said, is always to make them happier than when they got here. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, and then I want to go right into appointments. The one thing that I will ask you to is, and drill down, and I talked about this at my last meeting, is pleasant surprises. Write it down, put it on your keyboard, write it on your computer. It's your job to give every customer a pleasant surprise every single day. Figure out, get to know them, figure out what means something to them. If you have an appointment on a car, get to know your customer before they get there. Find out, walk out when they're driving up. Do the little things, guys, that are going to stand out. They have lots of choices. And I think we really got to step up our game on that, because we're going into a market over the next 3-4 months where we're going to have a lot less foot traffic. Now it's about manufacturing our experience, leveling up our experience, and then obviously we're going to go right into that manufacturing our own appointments and how we're going to do that. So, do you guys get where I'm coming from on the experience? So I'm going to keep talking about that. I'd like, Sam, Jordan, Chad, Kevin, Andrew. You guys it starts with you guys. Let's make sure that every day we start with that wow factor. Because where it happens, where it drills down, guys, is when we get busy. That's when, do you think Starbucks sometimes has 10 people in line for a car or for a coffee? Sure they do. It's about manufacturing the customer experience no matter what happens throughout the day. That's what the best companies figure out. A lot of people can wow someone when it's not busy and that they're just dealing with one person. The great companies and the great leaders figure out how to do it when they're busy. Figure out how to do it when there's a challenge. And that's what we got to do. Okay? All right? So I'm going to leave with that. Now I want to go into the appointments. So I'm going to ask everybody, if they have a phone, they can pull it out now for this exercise. So I want you to do the math with me. We're going to talk right into appointments, because we're going into the next 2 months where we have to be better at appointments, guys. And I want you guys to start off with the math. So, Kevin, we're going to start off with 20 appointments, okay?
Okay.
So everyone's goal is 20 appointments for the week. You're going to have a 70% show-up ratio. What did that take you down to?
14.
Okay. Then you're going to have a 40% closing ratio.
5.5.
5.5. And then you're going to have 4 weeks.
4 weeks. 20.
Okay, so about 22 cars in a month if you make 20 confirmed appointments. If you want to be a 20-car guy, that's how many appointments you need. It's a numbers game. It's not rocket science. I'm not up here reinventing the wheel here, guys. I could have had this same meeting 25 years ago. Okay? So let's do the exact same thing. Let's do 10 appointments in a week for a salesperson. Let's give you the benefit and say it's a 70% ratio that show up. Now do 40% of 7. What's that, 3.5?
2.8.
2.8. 2.8 times 4 weeks is what? Pardon me?
11.2.
11. Now you're an 11-car salesman. Let's do 5 appointments in a week, which is what some of you are averaging when I went through the math. Some of you are only averaging 5 appointments a week confirmed. Do you know what happens when one of your salesmen only has 5 appointments confirmed? He's a 3-car salesman a month. Do you know what that makes you as a manager? A 3-car sales manager. 5 appointments with a 40% ratio of show up gets you to sell 3 to 4. You might get lucky and sell 5 or 6 in a month. It's a numbers game. You know, those of you that are in, NFL, football, everything like that, they do the same thing but different. They do yards. All their play is about yards down the field. Our play is about appointments for sales. We know that that is how we're going to win the game at the end of the month. So some of you are not doing your team contribution. We need to figure it out. So I'm going to help you. We'll talk about it as a team. But 7 to 8 appointments in a week, guys, you got to level up, man. You are not going to make it the next 3-4 months financially. So my job is to have you reaching, and my job is to make you make the most you possibly can. But that means it has to start with your work ethic. And that means at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, you're not thinking about what you're going to be eating for supper for the next 2 hours. You're thinking about how many appointments you have for tomorrow. And your manager and you are sitting down going through that every day at the end of the day, and you're going right to the bell. The bell ends at 6. It doesn't end at 5:30. And that's where the managers have to really level up, because their bell starts ringing at sometimes 35, 45 minutes before it actually closing time. And that's where the real appointments are made. Just like the 1 yard line. Lots of times we don't make it past the 1 yard line on the football field. Lots of times you're not making any appointments the last hour of the day, Andrew. That's a fail. If you don't have 1 appointment per person guaranteed for the next day, that is a fail for that dealership and that department. Because we just did the numbers. I'm the head coach. I'm the guy up here. Then I have all these other coaches, and I want them to understand what it takes to win. And it's their job to make sure you have an appointment tomorrow. And you can thank us on payday. But don't be mad if we make you stay. Now, we'll help you. I don't want managers barking at people. I want them sitting down and with you making calls. That's the expectation. So where are the appointments going to come from? Let's go through it. We know we need 20 appointments per person a day to have 20-car guys. The minimum should be 14 to 15 in a week, Chad. Do you agree? Why are you averaging 7? Chad, you're averaging 7 in a week. I look past the last 3 months. You're a 20-car guy if you want to be, man. Do you think your wife would like double the income? Okay. Then stop accepting mediocre results for yourself. Stop accepting 7 appointments in a week. Because they're there. We have the database. You guys are all good when you want to be at marketing yourselves. Do you think the other dealerships have 500 used cars to choose from in town? Like we do? No, they don't. Because even if they did, they don't share. There's a difference. We have synergy in our company, so if Chad phones Penticton, they have to give up the unit. No other companies do that. You can bring a car from Woodgrove in Nanaimo and pay the shipping and have it here within 3 days if you have a deal. No other companies do that. So you have between 500 and 800 used cars at any given time. So if you have a used car customer, the closing ratio really should be 80% in my mind, because you have something no one else has. You have 800 choices usually. Maybe it's 700 on any given month. So you have to, what's the experience? We talked about that earlier. Are they loyal to you as a person? Because if they were, then they'd let you look through all the inventory and make sure that we got them a deal. So that's where that comes in. The closing ratio should be so high on used cars because we have this huge, big company synergy and sharing of inventory that when you get a used car customer, you should be like, oh, I got a deal. All I have to do is just wow this customer, make him feel like $1 million, and try and do his wants and needs and find his vehicle. Try and tailor it. It's like a lot of you guys said, I like your suit. Yeah, it's tailored to me. It's your job to tailor the used car to the customer. I have 800 choices when I get a suit. You guys have 800 choices on a used car on any given day. So when you start thinking that way, then your closing ratio should be 80 to 100% on a used car. Because it's your job just to build a relationship and find it. Okay? So, but we get back to the appointments. Where are we going to get the appointments? So let's walk through. Okay? So, the guy that ran here to make the meeting, you're on the hot seat. Don't look at my paper.
Social media, just
Okay.
posting that.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Kijiji, Auto Trader, Facebook, just people are looking
Okay.
for a vehicle.
Okay. So, social media, how many posts do you think you should do if you wanted to have 20 appointments a week?
We'll use 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Okay. And what are they going to be about?
Just vehicles, any
Okay.
like fresh trade-in.
Yeah. So, guys, everybody's online. Everybody's on Instagram. Everybody's on Facebook. I can't make you do it. I try and lead by example. I have thousands of followers. I was just at the meeting, both Kia and Hyundai and Genesis, and people are coming up to me and saying, hey, I seen you online, I seen you online, I seen you online, I seen you online. It works. It really does. Some of you managers are not at the level you need to be by leading by example. Right? You're just not. So if you want your salesman to do it, then you guys need to start doing it. But how it works is you do your personal image. Nobody's going to go on your social media if they don't like you. So part of it is what you do. Secondly is what you're about. Thirdly is what you do. Remember what I told you you own? What do you own? Okay. Your job is to give them about the best service they've ever gotten on selling used cars or a new Hyundai or a new Kia. And if you figure that out and you start giving good content, make it funny, make it original, then people are going to start getting out there. The Chad's Pick of the Week, the used cars, the best wholesale vehicles. We have 800 used cars. I've given you lots of stuff, right? And then just a little bit about yourself. So, I mean, Scott Barber, for instance, a great example is he's doing the dad joke of the week. It's original. But in his community, that was a good thing. Steve and him are doing the pizza thing. Original. In that community, that's a good thing. Has nothing to do with car sales. What he's doing is he's attracting followers, and then when he does post a car, they look at it that as well. Right? So, you know, and I said this, I did a meeting at a realtor's office recently. The Stone Remax had me come in and speak to all their realtors. What was it, 2 weeks ago, Jordan? So, and they were talking and they're trying to figure out how to network and get deals. And I told them the story, and it reminded me back when I was in Weyburn. I'm dating myself a little bit. But I can remember that my next door neighbor basically was away a lot. He worked on the rigs because in Weyburn, people are on the oil rigs a lot. So he was always away. So back then, I was just like you guys, but I mowed my own lawn back then. So now I don't have lawn, but back then I did, okay? And so when I was doing my lawn, I mowed his. That's what neighbors do. Guy left his wife had a young family, whatever. Lawn got out. I'd mow mine. I went over and did his. For weeks and weeks and weeks I would do it. Then he would come back. He'd thank me for it. One day I went away for the weekend, and I came back and I seen a car in his driveway. And it was from my dealership that I used to work at, or that I was working at, Barber Motors. So I talked to him and said, hey, notice you got a car. He goes, yeah, no, I went in there, bought a car. I said, oh, okay, you know that I work there, right? And he's like, yeah, I knew you worked there, but I just thought that, as long as I went there, that would be okay. And it triggered to me that I didn't do a good enough job on letting my friends and family and my neighbors know that I earned my living from selling that car. He thought just because I was associated with the business that he could go in there and buy a car and he was helping me. And from that moment on, I learned a lesson. It was like, it's my job to make sure that my circle of influence and my friends and people know exactly what I do for a living and know exactly that I can provide them a service better than anyone else in my field. And so I ask you guys that are all on social media and followers, does your friends and family and personal people know exactly what you do and what you can do for them? Because if they don't and you're just assuming it, but you've never really made sure they understand it, then you haven't went to that next level. And then guess what? Your next door neighbor is going to go buy a car off someone that should have been you, just like it happened to me. Because don't assume people know. So if you want to make this your career, then everybody you meet and everybody you know needs to know what you do. So what do? You sell used cars and you have the best selection in Canada with over 800. You sell brand new Hyundais, one of the best manufacturers on the business, the best EV whole thing. You sell Genesises that are now outselling Infiniti and some other luxury brands and are the top EV around and everybody wants them. You sell Kias, another great brand, plus 800 used cars. So do you guys get where I'm coming from? Buy direct, part of the Cod Auto Group. Give you the best used car experience in Kelowna. Plus we have the best selection in BC based on the big mother company. Do all your friends and family know that? Do all your circle of influence know that? I told the realtors too, I said, hey, I've sold a ton of people. I probably have sold the most servers in the business. Because when I go to a restaurant, I give them my card. And my wife sometimes gets mad at me. But I will card them and say, Sam, have you been with me when I've done that?
A couple times.
And what happens?
Oddly enough, it turns into a deal sometime down the road.
But I had to ask first. I said, hey, listen, just so you know, you gave me great service today. I really want to appreciate it. Just so you know, I own the Cod Auto Group. If you're ever looking for a car, here's my card. I'll make sure you get a great deal and get great service. She goes, you know what? I've been thinking about that. Where do you work again? She looks at my card, turns it over, and then says, I will keep this and I will call you. And 80% of the time, just like those numbers, I get a call, an email. Because it is a numbers game. But what happened if I wouldn't have let her know and just would have paid the bill? Chad?
Nothing.
Right. So how many times are you guys asking, doing a service, paying for things, doing things, and you're not even doing it back? Our furniture that we're getting for a house. Now Trina's doing it. I got the person calling me and saying, hey, I'm helping you, Trina, with your house. I'm looking at her demo. Sure, let's do a deal. But that's what it's about, guys. So he said social media, but it's even more than that. Are you marketing yourself on what you do? Do all your friends know what you can provide for them? Right? Jared? Right? Okay. What's the next one, Jared? How do we get appointments? So, Sammy, we got appointments. Then we got 20 per week. And right now we said social media. Jared, what else? Where else are we going to get appointments from?
Previous customers.
Okay, repeats. Walk me through it.
Calling people that might have had a higher interest rates last previous
Yep.
year. That we've already lined them up for the next year to
Okay.
win something a little bit newer, better interest rate,
Right.
and that's an easy call.
Yeah. It's an easy call when someone, like what Jared's doing with a higher interest rate, but it's also a call that you can make to anyone you've sold a car to. Because what a lot of salesmen don't figure out is that most people have 2 cars. And they sold them a car last year, but their second car, and they do in cycles. Like when I get a new demo, my wife is going to say to me, 1,000%. 1,000% she'd say to me, hey, when do I get a new demo? What colors do you have coming in? That's how psychology works, guys. So if you've just sold someone a car and you haven't figured that out as a professional salesperson, that they will be making another purchase sometime in the next year, and you need to figure out how to tap into that by giving them great customer experience and making sure that they know you're their sales guy. That's what it's about. Are you their sales guy? Or were you just the brand salesperson that helped them when they came in to buy a Kia? Were you just the brand salesman that had to help them when they bought that used car? But they have zero attachment to you. And when they buy another car, they're just going to start the whole process over. And that's what the manufacturers were talking about with some of this customer experience. If you want retention and you want loyalty, you have to be that person in relationships. Right? So are you, when you do a deal, are you their car guy from here on in? And that's how we have to look at it. So all these people you've sold a car to in the last year, I'd be calling them and saying, hey, listen, what about your second car? I know you don't want to trade that one in. What's Bill driving? What's your wife, what's she driving? What's your kids driving? How can I help you? Obviously, you're going to ask them how their car's going too, but, right? It's just, what happens, guys, we forget and we don't follow up. We don't give them updates. We don't touch base with them. And then we do these random phone blitzes. But we haven't earned any of that. Because between the time they bought the car, 6, 8, 10 months has went by, and the managers and salesmen haven't called them. And then all of a sudden we're doing a phone blitz, and we're hoping that, right? So think about it. Have a process of mind where you're constantly talking to these people, and then that's when you're going to become their car guy. Okay, Spencer, what's next for appointments?
Network.
Okay.
Personally, I've been digging into my Kelowna network because I was born and raised here.
Yeah, so we talked about circle of influence, your network, people you know, your friends, your family. We talked about that a little bit. But, anybody that you associate with, that, and asking them for help. And I said this to the realtors the other day, if you're not asking for help, you're not going to get help. So a proper way to ask for referrals is, Chad, a large percentage of my business is made of repeat referrals. I take a lot of pride in what I do. I could really use your help finding someone for me. Is there anyone you know in the market that might be looking for a car in the next 3 to 5 months? Yeah, you know what? There is. Well, you know what? No, there isn't. No problem. How about if you think about it? I might touch base with you again sometime, but I want to plant that seed, right? Now, you guys, were any of you guys watch the video or remember the bamboo tree? What was the story about the bamboo tree?
You gotta water it
Okay.
every year.
How long does it take to grow?
A very long time.
So the story about the bamboo tree is you have to water it every single day, and then over a period of years, nothing happens, and then one day, it sprouts. But if you miss watering it at any time, the bamboo tree dies. So the analogy of that is, on these things, is if you stop doing it for a short period of time, then you have to start over again and plant the seed again. The consistency is what makes the bamboo tree grow. And it's the same with referrals. It's the same with repeats. You have to keep watering it all the time, guys. Now, let's just go through the referral process because, like he said, and what some of the realtors were saying, and it was quite funny when I brought it back to them. So they're doing the same thing where, most realtors, they give the bottle of wine when you buy the house, little card, and in the card they do this. And I said, well, what about personalizing that gift, right? to what, like, maybe I'm a Scotch drinker and don't want wine. And then I said, what about asking me personally, point blank, if I knew of anyone that was buying a house? Yeah, you know what? My son Jordan, I think, is going to be upgrading sometime in the next year. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get. So when we're asking for these business, we have to do the 5-day follow-up calls. Make sure that they're happy with the things, the vehicles. Now, a great time to do this, guys, is on when you're selling these new vehicles and these vehicles that have a lot of technology. And one great experience of wowing them is to do a second delivery experience with them. So you would phone your customer back and say, hey, listen, I know when you bought the vehicle, we went through a lot of stuff. A lot of my customers don't understand all the technology stuff. They don't understand how they repair their phone. They don't understand this. Is there a time that we can go over it again? Either you come into the dealership or on my way home even, I'll stop by and spend 15 minutes with you. And then you actually do it. And you think about the bamboo tree and not about, oh, I could have been sitting. We know you guys have downtime. We're not stupid. You're not making calls for 8 hours a day. You're not with a customer 8 hours a day, Spencer. So, you taking the time to give somebody personal experience and helping them figure out all the goodies that their new car has, or the one that they just bought, that's how you earn a referral. Because now you took the time to do something different that no one else did. It's like, I want to give you a second delivery experience. I want to, on my way home today, stop by and make sure that your phone and all the navigation and everything is set up the way you wanted it. And then while I'm there, then I'm going to ask for the referral the month after. I'm going to say, hey, listen, remember when I talked to you about when you bought the car? Large percentage of my business repeats and referrals, blah, blah, blah. Is there anyone you might know might be looking for a car in the next 3 to 5 months? Now I've earned that. I just gave them something that I went out of my way, gave them this best customer experience. They're going to want to help me. They're going to want to help me get another deal because I did something for them. I guarantee you 90% of the people you've sold a new vehicle to or a late model one don't understand all the features that it has. 100% of the time. Either the wife, you get people over 50 or over 60 or 70, think about it. You think they know how to work all the technology? No, they don't. People want that extra experience. They want that extra thing, so that's when we do it. We call them back a month later and say, hey, I know you've had some time to go through the vehicle. Is there anything that maybe you don't understand? Is there anything that I can come and show you? And then you can ask for that referral and you'll get one probably 80% of the time. So that's really important, guys. Okay, what else? Let's go through it. You're a new guy. How else can we get appointments?
I was going to say referrals.
Okay, what else? We just said that.
Let's see, cold calling.
Yeah, database, right? Okay, so we can go through our database. We have lots of previous customers. Jared mentioned it. You know, the thing about calling people out of the database is, okay, because we don't want to burn the databases, we have to have benefits and value for them. So I don't like us just calling and wasting them. I like a sales manager and a salesperson going through the database, going through the service appointment, doing it proper, doing your job, going through it, looking how they bought last time, making sure we know what we're doing when we call them, and then calling them together with a strategy on how it's going to benefit and value them as a customer. Those are the calls I like, Anthony, sorry. Andrew. Anyway, you guys get what I'm saying? I don't want these phone blitzes where here's less, you guys call 50, we got to be out of here at 6 o'clock. Come on. That's not a strategy. That's not what I wanted when I say, hey, let's have boiler rooms. I want calculated calls to our clients and guests on how they can benefit and value from a new or used vehicle that are financing. And I expect the managers in the room to know what the benefit is and coach the salespeople. Kevin? So let's wake up on these calls and do them right. Then you're going to have real appointments, you're going to have real show ratios, and you're going to have real deals. You're not helping me by doing a boiler room and saying you have 18 appointments when 30% of them show up. No. You're fooling yourselves. Do not call someone unless you know everything about them before the call. We have a CRM system for a reason. We can pull up all the information. Quit doing these mass lists, Sam, and let's do them right. That means before the boiler room or the call list, if we're going to strategize, we actually have a strategy meeting and we go over them. And we think about how it's going to benefit the customer. Because some customers will want to lower their payments. Some customers will want new vehicles. But calling 50 people just for the sake of it, no. You're burning through them. Do you guys get where I'm coming from on this? So I challenge you guys when you're doing these calls to make sure we're calling right. Okay? The service customers. Kia and Kelowna Hyundai have 20 to 30 customers a day coming in the dealership. 70-80% of them are 3- and 4-year-old vehicles that we either want to purchase for a used car lot or we could order them a new one. It would make sense to me that a sales manager would know every single one of those appointments and figure out which ones would be in a good position to buy a new car and have a proper strategy to talk about with the salesman. And I think about what other companies like Google and Starbucks and what they would do in their type of meetings when they're trying to figure out which customers will come in and wait in line and how they're going to order their coffee. And then are you guys having those type of meetings about people waiting in service and what we should be doing? Probably not. So let's start thinking at a higher level on our service customers coming through, what they're watching on TV, what they're looking at, how can we interact with them better, and then if there is an opportunity to give them another product that they may want, we're doing it properly. Does that make sense? We didn't build these facilities just for show and tell. We built them because it's a great business model to have. People want to have a better experience. And it also has to do with engagement with their employees. But we have to think outside that box as well now. So I wanted to make sure when we talked about appointments, we get away from this old school, massive blast, phone things, automation, all this, and you start personalizing these calls and tailor them to the person you're calling. So some of you need a kick in the nuts. Some of you sales managers need a kick in the nuts because you haven't figured that out. It's not just about getting the appointments. It's about getting the right appointments that are going to show up and actually want to do service with benefits and value with us. It's not just about getting 20 appointments on a Saturday. It's about getting 17 or 18 really good appointments that are going to come in and have a great experience. Okay? So that's what I wanted to focus on today. In closing, happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you got 1 or 2 takeaways today. And I want to thank you guys. I know you're working hard. We've had a great year. Some of you new guys, looking forward to having you on the team.
Thank you.
Jordan and Sam and Chad have some golf things. I think they're going to do some individual passes for you that we can use up with our corporate membership stuff. So I'll leave you with that. And you guys can go through all the rest of the spiffs and pull our bus or whatever at your own stores, okay? All right, thanks guys.